Yo, what's up guys? It's Happy Snail. Today I'm back with another video using FaceIQ Labs. I'm going to be analyzing Chassius. I believe Chassius Thundercock is his nickname. He's a Tennessee, I think, or whatever, Knoxville state trooper who recently went viral for arresting somebody at some sort of sports event or some sports game. And he went very viral for his deformed face, for his deformities, quite literally. I mean, he's so deformed that people immediately saw it and he's a big meme now. So yeah. Pretty much that's what it is. I mean, look, he got an overall of a 2.12 out of 10. And if we go to somebody like Cuffham, for example, Cuffham gets a 2.95 out of 10 overall. And I mean, just look at this. So, and by the way, harmony isn't everything, of course. So this is solely his mathematical rating. So at the end of this video, I will be revealing his final rating, factoring in his dimorphism, his body fat, and his features. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting with Chassius's front ratios. So the first really big flaw is going to be his jaw frontal angle. As you can see, I mean, I didn't even get it fully. I actually kind of missed it here, but it's still far too obtuse. It just fully blows out from the ideal range. I mean, look at the bell curve. It's all the way at this far right side in the red zone. So yeah, his jaw is way too flat. It's extremely flat. And as we go through this analysis, you'll see a ton of other ratios that indicate the same thing. It'll be pretty repetitive. So yeah, next is deviation of his ipsilateral alar angle and his jaw frontal angle. So this is basically this angle from your alar base to your lateral canthus, and your jaw frontal angle. It's seeing how much they deviate. And as you can see, this is a very, very large deviation. Even though his ipsilateral alar angle is also quite obtuse, it still can't match this jaw frontal angle. This is demonic jaw frontal angle this guy has. So yeah, next is going to be his one eye apart test. So you could probably already tell, I mean, he has glasses, so it's a bit more difficult maybe for some people. But this guy's a complete dolphin. I mean, his eyes are far apart. And that's pretty much shown through this ratio. I mean, he has a 1.27x one eye apart test. You want to be able to fit one eye in between your eyes, but you can literally fit 1.3 eyes in between one of this guy's eyes. So yeah, extremely wide set. As you can see, look, almost on the farthest end of the thing right there. Next, for the ipsilateral alar angle, we already went over this. Just like his jaw frontal angle, this is too obtuse. This guy's face just carries a lot of flatness and broadness to it in general, including the ipsilateral alar angle. Next is going to be how high set his cheekbones are. As you can see, Chassius's cheekbones are low set, which is quite a flaw, to be honest. I mean, his left cheekbone is higher set than his right one, as you can see, but it's still quite a flaw, yeah. I mean, he has good angularity still, regardless. Next is going to be his mid-face ratio. So typically for your mid-face ratio, you want this light blue line and this white line to be the exact same length. But for Chassius, this blue line is practically 1.2 times longer than it, which indicates quite a compact midface, I'd say, which then again goes hand in hand with his quite flat, broad face. Next is going to be his mouth to nose width ratio. This is also a pretty severe flaw. As you can see, his mouth is, I wouldn't say his mouth is narrow. I would say his nose is probably a bit too wide. His nose is also very short, as you can see. It makes his middle third very bad. But yeah, let's go to the next one. Next is going to be his lower lip to upper lip ratio. This is absolutely insane, guys. Absolutely insane. I mean, his lower lip is literally smaller than his upper lip. And it's 0.8 times longer than his upper lip. I mean, that's just horrible. So, yeah, very bad flaw. Next is eyebrow low setedness. He has medium set eyebrows. To be honest, I could see how they might actually be low set, but they do look pretty medium set to me. I'm not going to lie. They're not that close to low set. So, yeah, pretty medium set eyebrows. Next is going to be his lower third. Dude, this guy's lower third is way too long. Think about it like this. This guy's lower third is 40% of his entire face. That's like almost half of his entire face is his lower third. That's a huge flaw. So, yeah. But he still gets a 6.3 out of 10 in points for. He doesn't get knocked down too bad because it's still dimorphic. Next is going to be his lateral canthal tilt, which is basically his canthal tilt. It's fancy. But, yeah, his canthal tilt is about 3.3 degrees. You want it to be 5.5 to 8 degrees to look more positive and youthful. But, yeah, his is a bit too low. It doesn't look too bad, actually, though, I'd say. It looks fine. Next, his middle third. His middle third is too short. You would want to take probably, like, 2% of his lower third and add it to his middle third, and it'd be really good. Next is going to be his lower third proportion. This is just basically measuring how much of your lower third is dominated by your chin or by your philtrum. And as you can see, just a little bit of his lower third is dominated by his philtrum too much right here. Not too much, just by 0.8 as you can see, but yeah, it's not ideal. Next is going to be his eye separation ratio. So typically you want your eyes or your pupils to be 45 to 47.5 the width of your face. or 45 to 47.5% the width of your face. And his is 48.6% the width of his face, which indicates that he has very, very wide set eyes. This also goes hand in hand with his shorter mid-face ratio and his one eye apart test being 1.2. These all just go hand in hand to make a shorter, flatter face look that is just more feminized, if anything. But as you can see, his face doesn't look feminine, though, and we'll get into that in a moment, why that is. Next is total face width height ratio. So typically, you want your face to be 1.33 to 1.38 times taller than it is wide. But his is 1.3 times taller than his wide, which goes hand in hand with the other features, yeah. So he has a very short face shape. Not extremely short. I'd say 1.3 to 1.4 looks acceptable. Because as you can see, like, his face doesn't look crazy short just because of the height. It's more because of the jaw frontal angle. Because if this was like this, it wouldn't look that crazy, but yeah. Next is going to be his bigonial width. Actually, he doesn't do too bad on here. I mean, this is pretty acceptable, I would say. Even though his jaw is really wide, it's not too wide. It's only slightly too wide, but yeah, it's acceptable. And yeah, everything other than that, everything we went by just now is pretty much perfectly ideal. His upper third is in the good range. His facial width height ratio, this is just checking like how compact this region is in a way, other than your mid-face ratio, this whole region. And it's basically just dividing this line by this line, the width of your cheekbones by the height of your mid-face. And yeah, you want it to be 1.9 times longer than it is, or wider than it is tall. And he has that, so yeah, perfect. Next is going to be his chin to philtrum. You want this to be 2 to 2.5, and his is 2.3, which indicates that his chin is perfect in size. Next is going to be his eye aspect ratio, which is also really good. His eyes are 3.3 times wider than they are tall, and you want it to be from 2.8 to 3.6, so it's literally in the perfect range. As you can see on the bell curve, it's right in the middle. Next is going to be his neck width. It's 92.5%. It's really good, actually. Really strong neck width. I mean, this guy's a officer. You'd hope that. Bitemporal width, ideal. I mean, he's bald, so I guess you could probably just like say it's like this, but I like to be fair. I like to measure it where I see like some graying start where the hair is, because I think that's how people perceive it, but then again, you do you. And then, yeah, these are pretty irrelevant. So yeah, that's it for his front. Let's get to his side. Okay, so for his facial depth to height ratio, the facial depth to height ratio is kind of measuring how forward grown you are. And as you can see, his is above the ideal range, which indicates that he has a bit too much forward growth, or this line is too short in comparison to this line. Perhaps if his face was taller, it would look less like compact and antiface. If you don't know what antiface is, it's just like this a little bit. But yeah, that's a flaw right there. Next, for his nose tip rotation angle. I guess this is flawed because of the angle of the photo, and I kind of got it off a bit. But still, you typically want your nose to be tilted up a little bit more this way. And his nose should also be a bit longer or taller, but we'll get into that later. Next, for his nasal width height ratio. As I just said, his nose should be taller. So yeah, his nasal width height ratio is flawed. His nose is way too short. Next, for his nasal tip angle. As you can see, his nasal tip angle indicates that he has a very, very sharp nose tip. It's in the far left of the unideal range. So yeah, you'd want a bit more of a obtuse angle for this to make it less pointy looking. Next, for the facial convexity, his face's flatness in relative to the nasion. So yeah, this kind of just like is very flat, and it indicates that he has a recessed maxilla, which he clearly does have. So yeah, his maxilla is recessed. Moon facial profile, yep, says it right there. Oh yeah, it says it all. Over projected chin, yep, perfect. Yeah, and as you can see, in the unideal range. Next is going to be his lower lip S-line position. So this indicates that he has an overly retruded lower lip and a thin lower lip. This is true. So yeah, outside of the ideal range by quite a bit. Next is going to be his nasomental angle. So as you can see, his nasomental angle is far too obtuse. If his nose was projected more, which is a result of his recessed maxilla, as you can see, it would be a lot more like acute and more just like a lot more aesthetic, honestly. It could also be as a result of his side not being a true side profile, but still, this is a good enough photo to tell that it's unideal, I'd say. Next, for his facial convexity relative to glabella, as you can see, this indicates that his maxilla is recessed. Just overall, he has a moon face. I mean, it's clear. This guy, in the photo, he's like... Wait, let me get my hat real quick. Oh, I have it right here. Dude, he's literally like this in the photo. Like this guy literally has moon face. So, yeah, that everything indicates moon face. So... Next is going to be his mandibular plane angle. This also indicates that he has a very, very flat jaw. Dude, I mean, oh my god. Wow. Very, very crazy mandibular plane angle. Very flat. So yeah, huge flaw. Nasofacial angle. This is just kind of measuring how outward your nose is compared to your side profile. In comparison to like your side profile like this. How outward the nose is like this kind of. And as you can see, he'd benefit from his nose being more outward like this. If he had a stronger nose bridge, if he just had a taller nose and a stronger like mid face, it would just overall it would just benefit it. Yeah, recessed maxilla. So yeah, next for the lower lip elan position. So typically you want your lips to be within like 1 to 4 millimeters like forward or behind the line, but his are 7 millimeters behind the line. And also his nose is very, very under projected, as it says right here. If his nose was more projected and his lips were more forward, this would be ideal. Next is going to be his total facial convexity. As you can see, this also indicates that he has a moon face, a flat profile. And if his nose was more forward and if his chin was more backward, he would benefit from it a lot and his convexity would improve. If he just needs a more convex profile, it's too concave. Next is going to be his brow ridge inclination angle. As you can see, it is way too like obtuse. If it was more acute and less inclined, it would be a lot better. If it was just like a bit steeper, yeah. Next for the holdaway H line, you typically want both lips to be just touching this line. You typically want it to be like a straight line that goes up and both lips meet perfectly. But as you can see, his lower lip is 3 millimeters away from it. So yeah, it's unideal. Next is going to be his submental cervical angle. I guess it's because of the photo this one came out unideal, but I still think it's unideal because he's aged and he has a bit of like a sagging submental. Now, this next ratio is recession and relative to the Frankfurt plane. So typically, you want your next is going to be a recession relative to the Frankfurt plane. So typically, it's a good thing to not be recessed. And recession relative to Frankfurt plane is checking if your chin meets your nasion. And if your chin meets your nasion, that means that you have you're relatively forward grown in your mandible, and you're not recessed. It's simply that. But this guy, instead of being in the recessed range, he actually is too forward relative to his nasion, and he's in the too forward grown range with his mandible. So yeah, his mandible is actually far too ahead, and this is what creates that look that you guys saw in that clip. So yeah, that's basically what's going on there. Ooh, okay. Next, let's look at his gonial angle. So gonial angle is very, very important. I'd say it's probably the most important ratio of your side profile because it encompasses it covers your entire jaw angle, which I think is what most people notice first when they look at your side. And his, as you can see, indicates that he has a very, very flat mandible, a flat jaw, which is true because he has a very, very short face, as we saw in the other ratios. So yeah. Next, his nasal projection. It's not actually that bad. As you can see, it just falls outside of the ideal, but his nose could be more projected. Next, for his nasal projection, it's not actually that bad. It's just out of the ideal range, but his nose could be just a little bit more projected. The other ratios also indicate that. Next, for his Frankfurt tip angle, I think I measured this a little bit incorrectly, but still, as you can see, his nose would benefit from, you know, being a stronger nose bridge, just being taller, being more like this, if that makes sense, if you can see with my mouse. Next, for his nasolabial angle, he scores pretty good on this actually. It could just be a little bit more acute if it was like this maybe, and that would also fix his Frankfurt nasal tip angle, and it would correlate with the taller nose. But yeah, it's not too bad. Next, for his nasofrontal angle, which is pretty good. Even though the angle of the photo is frauded, I'd say his nasofrontal is probably still in the ideal range of 114 to 131. This is just measuring how acute or obtuse this angle is, and it's a pretty dimorphic trait, I'd say, to have it acute like his is. Next, for the ramus to mandible ratio, as you can see, his ramus size and his mandible length are pretty harmonious. They go well together, even though his mandible is too long compared to his other traits. But yeah, if his nose was more forward, it would be great. But yeah, perfectly in the ideal range, as you saw there. For his mentolabial angle, also perfectly in the ideal range. Just measuring the acuteness or obtuseness of this. You'd think it's not in the ideal range, but his really weird lower lip here kind of makes it so it is. Next, for his gonian to mouth line, you'd want your gonian to be aligned with the lower lip somewhat to meet that area somewhat, and it does. So yeah, that's very good. And then finally, his orbital vector. You can't see it because of the glasses, but your orbital vector is this little thing right here, and I presume that his is positive. Even though he has a recessed maxilla, I think it's positive. It might be negative, but I'll just give him positive, dude. His side is literally like a 1 out of 10 harmony-wise, which you wouldn't think it is, but it literally is. So yeah, I'll give it to him. So guys, now that I have his harmony, which is a 2.12 out of 10, and I've got his angularity, which I would say is a 7.75 out of 10. He's very, very good angularity, actually. Very, very good, but it could obviously be more, you know, exaggerated, but I'd say it's a 7.75. His dimorphism is a 7.25, even though he exerts lots of masculine traits, etc., like his neck width, his jaw frontal angle. His long philtrum, his lack of brow density, his short feminized midface, his ESR all knock him down to a 7.25. If he had hair and thicker brows, he might even have like an 8 in dimorphism. I'm not really sure. I'd have to see how that looks. Next, for his features or his miscellaneous traits, it's horrible. I mean, every single feature this guy has is shit. I mean, he has pretty good skin, but I'm going to give him a 1 out of 10 for features. I mean, it's a 1. Like, what can I say? I don't really know what to say. I mean, the brows, horrible. There's nothing around his eyes. I mean, he's just the most plain looking guy ever. There's zero contrast to his appearance. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 1 out of 10 for his features. So yeah, he has a final score of roughly a 3.5 out of 10. He mogs cuff him. But yeah, still pretty bad, I'd say. Anybody else you guys want me to rate, let me know down below. If you want to use FaceIQ Labs, I'm going to leave the link with my referral code on the pinned comment. Let me know who you want me to rate next, guys. And yeah, thank you for watching.